It's the radio guy, Dr. Mike Prince. Welcome to another episode of the Mike Prince Show. Sunday Night Live. And man, oh man, has this one come out the gate stumbling, staggering, as if I was in a heavyweight fight between Mike Tyson and Roy Jones Jr. But nonetheless, we're going to get her done. We got a special show on tonight. We're going to have the illustrious, noble, all-wise basketball guru and analyst for the Open Mic Broadcast Network. And that's none other than Coach Vann Pettaway. We'll break down the weekend that was around the world of basketball. Spotty as far as football is concerned with collegiate and NFL, but the show must go on. A lot of things on the horizon, dealing with somewhat of a technical glitch, but guess what? We're going to get it done any way that we can. I want to thank our sponsors on tonight, Attorney Lee Van Richardson, Temple of Refuge Ministries, Brazos Valley Schools Credit Union, Purple Drip Daiquiri and Grill, the Prairie View Athletic Club, Diva Skin Conditioner, Helping Hands Lawn Service. And with all that being said and out of the way, we're going to jump right into tonight's episode. What a time it is. What a time that's going on as we speak right now. I've had all kind of challenges and hiccups on today, but we're going to continue to press toward the mark. How about that? We can't be disturbed. We can't be turned around one way or the other. We'll have Coach Pettaway on the Brazos Valley Schools Credit Union hotline later on today. And we have somewhat of an epic moment for these episodes here of the Mike Prince Show. Believe it or not, today is our 1,000th episode of the Mike Prince Show. 1,000th episode. And just happened to stumble upon that by chance today. So what a way to have it than to have the special guest that we have scheduled today, Coach Vann Pettaway. In the world of college football, I'm still limping through the football season because I haven't had any SWAC football. But nonetheless, I check out what I can check out, monitor what I could monitor. And I don't believe I've ever spent this much effort and time in a long, long time on Power 5 competition. I normally, gauge it, from afar, but I don't get head over heel with it because I'm into my SWAC. I'm into my MEAC. I'm into my FCS football. I'm excited about FCS football. But nonetheless, Michigan struggling in a horrible way. And I would be very, very surprised if Vann Pettaway, if Jim Harbaugh is to ever come back and be a part of that institution. I would be hard pressed, extremely hard pressed to see if they would even welcome him to the door. It's to the point now that I believe they'll just tell Jim, don't even bother about coming back on campus. We'll forward your stuff to you wherever you say. We got a forwarding address for you, and we'll send it to you. They might even have his picture on campus postal boards talking about, if you see this man attempting to be a part of the campus activities, please escort him off campus. It's that bad right now for Jim Harbaugh. And another institution that's kicking themselves is Nebraska. Nebraska used to be the darlings of the Midwest when they were the Big 8, Big 12, and they went for the money and jumped toward the Big Ten. And since they've been a part of the Big Ten, they had some early marginal success, but they have totally tanked since they've been a part of the Big Ten. They've almost disappeared. And it's really and truly a sad state. Growing up in the Midwest, where you had your powerhouses of the Big 8, Big 12 at that time, was always Nebraska, Oklahoma. And every now and then Missouri would have an off-the-chart year. But you could always count on Oklahoma, Nebraska representing. And then Nebraska got beside themselves. In fact, tried to lure Missouri. I was on record for saying that Missouri would have possibly been a better fit for the Big Ten than they would be for the SEC. I still do not see Missouri as an SEC team. I'm sorry. It just, they've had huge success on yesterday. And speaking of Missouri Vanderbilt game on yesterday, congratulations to Miss Sarah Fuller. She was the goalie for Vanderbilt. They just won an SEC championship, and she got a chance. It was a squib kick to help the cause out because COVID has been attacking everybody throughout the nation. And this, of course, is no exception to the rule. So with all that being said, we got a lot of COVID mishap still causing havoc. My beloved big Pittsburgh Steelers have fallen victim. Yes, Connor is out, and we've had a couple of players returning from COVID, but it's pushed the game back, what should have been Thursday to Sunday, now to Tuesday. And to be quite honest with you, I have not even been in a football mood today. Absolutely just not concerned whatsoever. In fact, I pretty much took a nap. Been doing some upgrades with the studio, working on that thing coming out. We'll be tweeting that out real soon. You can follow me on Twitter at The Mike Prince Show for all of that. What I got to do right now, I got to take a break. And when I come back from this break, hopefully we'll have this Brazos Valley Schools Credit Union hotline sorted out. We could hear from the coach, Vann Pettaway, and we'll talk some college hoops throughout the nation. You're listening to the Sunday night live edition of the Mike Prince Show. I am your host, the doctor, radio guy, Mike Prince. We'll take us a break, and we'll be right back. Mark your calendars for December 20th, 2020. The Prairie View Athletic Club extends an invitation for you to come out and learn more about the Prairie View Athletic Club and how it operates, proudly supporting PV Athletics since 1986. Be a part of something special. For more information, dial 936-857-5817.
Broadcasters come into our lives on radio and TV, bringing us information and entertainment. Broadcasters are there for us, but who is there for them when they fall on hard times? The Broadcasters Foundation of America provides financial assistance to broadcasters in acute need due to a critical illness, accident, or other serious misfortune. If you know of a broadcaster on the air or behind the scenes who may need our help, please share our message. Visit broadcastersfoundation.org.
Hello, this is Alonzo Hardy Jr., the president of the SWAC Alumni Association. The SWAC Alumni Association is an organization founded on December 10, 1999, at the Sheraton Hotel in Birmingham, Alabama. Its mission is to serve as a rallying ground for individuals who have made the Southwestern Athletic Conference the illustrious conference that it is today. Its membership is open to former student athletes who played in the conference in any sport, as well as to coaches, athletic administrators, staff members, game officials, and fans. Annually, the association holds a Legends Awards and roast banquet or luncheon where it honors individuals with Lifetime Achievement Awards, a Chuck Prophet Wackenmaster Award, and occasionally a Distinguished Service Award. Proceeds from that event help to finance degree completion scholarships for student athletes who have exhausted their playing eligibility at SWAC universities, but who may still need an extra semester or two to complete their college studies. For more information on the SWAC Alumni Association, or to get information on becoming a member, you can send correspondence to SWAC Alumni Association, 875 Miller Creek Lane, Newport News, Virginia, 23602. The email address is swakalumniassociation@yahoo.com.
Be the one with courage to fight child abuse.
All Texans must find the courage to fight child abuse.
Learn the signs and symptoms and report suspected abuse to appropriate authorities.
Learn and know these warning signs.
A child who undergoes changes in behavior, appetite, or routine.
Watch for unexplained injuries, a change in academic performance, or loss of interest by a child in regular activities.
Trust your instincts. If you suspect something, do something.
If you believe a child is in an abusive situation, please call the Texas Abuse Hotline at 1-800-252-5400.
Be the one with courage. To find your local Children's Advocacy Center, visit onewithcourage.org.
On behalf of children, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Mike Prince on the Mike Prince Show Sunday Night Live. We are having a technical snafu right now. So what I have to do is try to get something here set up and get this thing back on track. Don't know how we got to where we are right now, but sometimes that happens to the best of us, sometime at the most worst time. But we have to do what we're going to do. We're going to try to clear this line real quick and get but Coach Vann Pettaway. We'll be right back. We're working out a technical glitch. right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Boy, I tell you, the devil gets busy, but we're going to keep fighting hard anyway. We're back live on the Mike Prince Show Sunday night edition, and I have on the line with me none other than the college basketball, not only just college basketball, but basketball extraordinaire and analyst and man who can break down the hardwood unlike anyone else I've come across, and that is none other than Coach Vann Pettaway. Coach, how you doing this evening, sir?
Hey, I'm blessed, Dr. Prince. I'm happy to be here, and you're so kind and you're so generous. But I'm looking forward to our talk.
Yes, sir. The same. Well, you know what? It's easy to be kind. It's easy to be generous when it's true, Coach. You know, they say if you can't say something good about folk, don't say nothing at all. But I have nothing, as old Heartbeat 5 Heartbeat, nothing but love for you, sir. And,
all right, thank you. I appreciate
that. The time, the expertise that you share with a guy. I got an open confession, Coach, that I am not the biggest basketball fan in the world, but I keep up with it. I don't like the NBA. I think the NBA has tainted basketball, and it has a bad influence on the younger kids, in particular that of AAU. And it has just convoluted the game as far as I'm concerned. But I love college and high school basketball. Does that make
but
me
you know what,
misfit?
Dr. Prince? Let me tell you something. You're not that far off. There are a lot of us that don't appreciate the NBA game because of what you just said. It gives a false sense to the young kids that are trying to play the game. And there are plenty of college coaches that feel the same way you do. Coach Joe, he felt the same way. Wow. Even though he ended up scouting for the Knicks, but all of that, he scouted for the Pacers and the Knicks, but all of that came about because of his relationships with other people, not necessarily about the state of the game, because he felt like, and just as I do, there are a lot of things that they do on that level. It's influencing our young people the wrong way. And so there are a lot of people that have that sentiment.
Well, I don't feel like an ogre then, because people, man, what do you mean? What's wrong with you? And I'm an old school team player. I played football. I played baseball. I played basketball, but I concentrated on football and baseball. And I boxed. And the people think that boxing is an individual sport, but it's not, because you have people encouraging, training, giving pointers throughout those rings, throughout the bouts, in between the rings, and so you're never truly by yourself. But what I see is a bunch of individuals who get together and say, "Hey guys, let's go play a pickup game, and let's go team up with the Heat this year. Let's go team up with the Nuggets this year," or whoever they choose, and they just run amok. And I see that as a bad thing for the overall product.
Right. Well, you're not alone in that. You're not alone in that, my friend.
Wow. Well, enough of that, because, but I do enjoy it. I think now I will give credit to what credit is due. I think the most athletic and physical condition athlete in the world is a basketball player. Those guys are superhuman and got lungs the size of the state of Texas. That's all I can say.
Yep.
Now, huge weekend, somewhat disappointing. Not all games were able to get off, but I know right now, Coach, this is the time of year. If you could get intoxicated off of basketball right now, especially when it opens up the weekend, you would have been somewhere in a rehab center today, huh?
Right. You're right, because this is the time of year that you get that itch. You want to be around basketball. Because this is 2020 and the virus, I have yet to see a game live. And a lot of people say, well, you can watch it on television, but when you see people live, you get to see a lot more. Yes. And then as a coach, you can really gauge size, speed, athleticism, whereas you will not see a lot of that on television. Like as we're talking now, I'm sitting here watching Prairie View in Louisville. And Prairie View's holding their own. So, But if I was there live, I'm quite sure there are a lot of other things that I would get a chance to see as a fan of the game, and then, of course, as a former coach. So it's been a challenging year. But I love basketball, high school, and the collegiate level, and I just miss being in person. But we have to do what we have to do because this virus is not a joke.
Oh, it's not a joke at all.
Right.
It's hitting someone that you know or
Right
know
now.
of right
Yep.
this very moment. And
Yep.
either it's just like they say about troubles and storms. You're in the midst of one, you just got out of one, or you're headed for one.
There you go.
Coronavirus coming to somewhere near you real soon. It's just that real. And it's unfortunate that I don't know about anyone else. It's almost, I've become normal and accustomed to this way of living now, Coach, because it's been that long. And
Right.
you can't complain. You adjust and you move forward and you try to govern yourself accordingly. I had two of my children come home, but I couldn't interact with them like I really would normally interact with them. Hey, we had a good time, this, that, and the other. But the hugs, the embraces, the kisses on the foreheads and the cheek, that was gone.
Right.
Because I love them, and I know that they know I love them, and vice versa. But when you out there, you young, I can't monitor everything that you're doing. So, and they understand that. So we had a wonderful time, and hope you and your family had a wonderful holiday season.
We did.
I didn't overeat neither, Coach. You'd have been real proud of me.
Okay, well, I did the same thing. I just sampled a little bit of everything.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Now, speaking of these samples, you made mention of Prairie View. Prairie View, right on course of where I was gauging. Of course, I'm a homer when it comes to Prairie View. I was expecting them, best case scenario, after this 3-game trip in Kentucky, to come back 2-1. I said, but I would be okay with 1-2. I was very pleased with the 2 games that they played against Little Rock and that of Evansville.
Right.
Evansville, of course, played David versus Goliath last year against Kentucky, although this is a new year. Prairie View held their own against them. And quite honestly, probably let one get away. There's no probably to it. Let one get away against Little Rock. So
Correct.
The defensive piece, which I still laugh when I relate Byron Smith with defense, because if you kept up with him throughout his career, he was an offensive juggernaut. But to transition to what he's done, and for the most part, people who are not really entrenched in the world of basketball, it looked like he's doing this with a bunch of nobodies.
Right, but it's his philosophy. I love the way he coaches. In fact, I did his first game when he replaced Byron Rim. We had his first game, and he took off, and he has never looked back. But when you see his teams, they're poised. They're very patient on the offensive end. And in this game today against Louisville, they're down now, but for the first 14 minutes, they led this basketball game from the beginning until about 6 minutes left in the first half before Louisville caught up with them. But he's a very energetic and talented coach, and he makes sure that his players understand that they have to play together. When you see his teams, they play together, they're organized, and they play so hard. And then, believe it or not, they get it done on the defensive end. He's got some good defensive schemes, and he's one of the people that if I had to coach against, you're going to have to spend a little extra time in the lab to get ready for him.
Okay, we're speaking right now with Coach Vann Pettaway on the Brazos Valley Schools Credit Union Hotline on Sunday night live edition of the Mike Prince Show. Now, Coach, when the average person watches a basketball game, and unlike football, unlike baseball, unlike soccer, unlike any other sport, I hear you talk about these defensive schemes, and they go like, well, there's 5 guys on the court. What kind of defensive schemes can you even imagine? And could you go into detail and explain the difference of schemes and why and what situation would justify you doing which one?
Well, in his case, he switches his defenses up a lot. You know, he'll go from he's primarily a man-to-man coach, but he will play some zone. And then the different things that he does in the man-to-man. Sometimes he'll keep you guessing. He might trap the ball screen. If you come up and screen one of his players, they may trap that. So you got to be ready. You got to have a counter to get ready for that. They might deny passes on the wing that forces you to go back door. Well, if you have not taught your kids to go back door, then you just killed the play. So, there are different things that he does during the course of the game to keep you off balance. And that's the sign or a mark of a good coach, because he's not doing the same thing. He's making adjustments during the course of the game. And a lot of his adjustments come on the defensive end, as well as he will make adjustments on the offensive end too, depending on what you throw at him defensively. He'll make adjustments on that offensive end.
Now, Coach, when would be a time that you would prefer to run a zone? I know the zone, from my understanding, is you not as threatened by your opponent's outside shooting ability to kind of keep them outside. And man is when you feel like you match up with them well, or maybe even have a little superior advantage.
Right. Well, see, a lot of people play man-to-man because it's easier to teach the man to match the zone and the matchup zone. They are a lot harder to teach and for the young people to grasp. But I did a combination of both. It depends on what you did against us. When we did our scouting report, if we saw that you were not a good perimeter shooting team, then yeah, we're gonna sit back in the zone and force you to go to your weakness, which is poor perimeter shooting. We wanted to force you to shoot long shots or perimeter shots. And then the other reason why you would use a zone, if you got a big or big time post player or a guy that we can't handle one-on-one, you go to the zone so that you can have help on that post player. And we would double team, get him to throw the basketball out so he does not kill us in the paint. So there are different reasons for doing the zone. And then the other reason that a lot of coaches use the zone for is protect your players. Because when you play man-to-man, you tend to foul more. In the zone, you got immediate help. So a lot of times you can steal a few minutes for a guy that's in foul trouble by letting him sit in the zone on the defensive end.
Okay, and I guess it would even help that win out as you get deeper into the game too.
Right. It helps you. And then for a transition coach like me, when we set up in our zone, my offensive players were already in their lanes. They were already on that side of the floor, so it made my transition game a little faster, a little better, a little more predictable for us because we already have our lane assignments. Because see, we ran a controlled break. We just don't go up and down the floor. You had lane assignments, so the zone really put us in our lanes, and it made it faster for our break.
Okay. Now, Coach, with you having success on the collegiate level, your connection and love for the game, what have you seen, or how have you seen the game evolve from when you coached to where it is right now? What are some of the greatest differences that you see?
Well, you see more perimeter shooting now, and that's because of the NBA. See, when Steph Curry and all those guys started hoisting up all those threes, you see the collegiate game spreading out now. You saw the 3-point line move back because basketball people, the gurus, decided that we need to be playing more towards our international rules, because that's why we struggled when we were playing international basketball, because all of our kids were used to the little short 3-point line, whereas international line is much further back. So, in the last 10 years, they moved it back some more. And then the next thing that you might see would be the widening of the lane, because in international play, the lane is wider. And so what they're trying to do is make basketball uniform so that no matter what level you're playing on, the similarities will be there already.
Yeah.
So those are just a couple of the changes. Now, for the traditional basketball coaches and people, centers are now out on the perimeter shooting threes. When I coached the game, I did not have my center out on the 3-point line.
That was blasphemy back
my
in that
center
day.
controlled the paint.
That was blasphemy.
Right. My center controlled the paint. Your forwards, you would get a forward that would step out and shoot the basketball. But for the most part, you had a back-to-the-back player, and you would put him at the center spot most of the time. And now you don't see very much of that. You don't see now you got stretch forwards. You got centers who are out on the perimeter. When I say stretch forward, that means they're out shooting a 3-point shot, which means that your defense has to get out to them. That creates more driving lanes for the people that stretch the floor. And so it's just tougher.
Do you think it's better?
Well, I would have to say this portion of the game is better because now you're allowing more people to actually play the game. You got to play more players now because of the style of play. That didn't affect me because I wanted to be deep anyway. I always played 10 people because I'm going to press, I'm going to run, and it was always hard for you to play an entire game. So I had to develop my bench. And what that does is if you develop your bench, so if you have an injury or something, your team is not lost because a guy is coming in and taking his place that's already accustomed to playing.
Absolutely.
So that's the way I did. That's the way I looked at the game. But there are a lot of moving pieces that'll keep a team going and to build a team and to build a program.
Okay, once again, we're talking with Coach Vann Pettaway on the Brazos Valley School Credit Union Hotline here at the Mike Prince Show, Sunday night edition on the Open Mic Broadcast Network. Coach, when you say the game has gotten better and you see the growth and the development of the game, certain things are going to remain the same. And when it comes to college athletics, the name of the game is recruiting, correct?
Correct.
And you let it be known not while you were in the midst of the storm, but when you got out the storm and kind of dried off, that you played shorthanded. While you were at the helm, didn't have all the full scholarships available. And how challenging is that to overcome when you're at a program that does not have the traditional financial support from boosters, this, that, and the other, but then not to be able to have the same advantage as far as necessary scholarships? What are some of the things that you have to become creative with in overcoming that?
Well, when you don't have all your scholarships, the first thing it's going to affect is the quality of athletes you have, because you're not going to get good players to just walk on and their parents pay for them to go to school. So it affects you from a talent standpoint. The other thing, it affects your depth on your team. If you don't have all your scholarships, how are you going to keep enough people who can play, in your program? It also affects your class sizes and keeping your class. You want to have a balanced number of freshmen, sophomores, juniors, and seniors, so that in 4 years you don't have just 7 or 8 seniors on one team. If you got your scholarships, you can split them up and divide them up to the point where you can have more balance. Back you were given 13. The most I've ever had was 10. And so what that did is that kept me from redshirting people. If you had that 13 scholarship, you might have a post player or a guard that needed a year, so you could redshirt him. You paying for him to go to school. Now he's working. He's in your program, and now that person has gotten bigger, stronger for you for the next year. But if you don't have all your scholarship, that doesn't help you. You can't do that, because if I got 10, I need those 10 for people that's going to be playing for me, that's going to be on the floor. So it puts you at a disadvantage because a lot of people that have all of their scholarships, they're able to redshirt people, redshirt a group. Like in the SWAC this year, a lot of people did not pick Texas Southern to win, and those were people on the outside. The people on the inside, the coaches in the league, they knew Texas Southern had 4 or 5 kids sitting out. How did they have 4 or 5 sitting out? because they had them on scholarship, sitting them out, ready to roll. They've been in the program for a year. So that's why a lot of the coaches in the league picked Texas Southern to win the championship this year, because of the talent that they had sitting out. They already invested in their program because they practiced for a whole year. So that gives them, well, they practiced all the way up until the virus stopped everything. So that gives them an advantage right there. But you got to have your scholarships in order to win. And then so the other thing that we had to do, we looked at kids who qualified academically for money, for academic scholarships, and I was able to supplement my program that way by going into the home, letting the parents know, if you all qualify for financial aid, you would get that money going towards his education plus his academic scholarship. And as long as he's keeping that 3.5 GPA, this scholarship is good. My commitment is I will make sure that your son has the time to study. I will make sure your son has tutors to help him make sure that he stays on that scholarship. And then mama has to trust me. She's got to know that I want her son on scholarship, because that's the only way I can keep him in school, because I don't have all of my scholarships. So I did a pretty good job of making sure that the kids didn't spend all their time in the gym. We adhered to the 20-hour work week for the athletes. So the rest of that time, and I had built in 4 days a week, mandatory study hall for my kids, and that helped us to stay ahead of the curve.
Well, it sounds like a very well-formulated plan. You didn't have the challenges of APR back then.
Yes, I did.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah. The APR was in.
It was becoming new to us at that time. Yes, sir.
Correct. The APR was coming in when it back then. I think it was 9:10. It's not that 9:30 that they have now.
And it's going up to 9:50 soon, Coach.
Right, I know, and I think that's ridiculous. I think that's another way. This is what John Thompson and Cheney and all of them thought about when they came about with Prop 48. There seems like they're coming up with different ways to get to lessen the impact of the black athlete, and that's why these guys fought against Prop 48. They fought against this APR. It is all schools are not equal when it comes to the academic support. Like in the HBCUs, we don't have $1 million academic centers where these athletes can get everything when it comes to academics that they need. We're dealing with on our college campus. Well, let me just speak for Alabama A&M. On our campus, our kids started out dealing with the regular academic counselors that were responsible for the entire university.
Right.
Then we started trying to build our academic enhancement center. But that's still just one person for 400 athletes.
Right.
So see, that does not work. That does not compute. And that's why when you see the penalties for APRs, that's why you see predominantly HBCUs on that, because we don't have the money to put into the academic programs that are needed to get these kids to graduate early or to maintain that APR.
Yes, sir. And when you mention graduate early, even with all those hurdles and obstacles, in the most part, on the average, the student athlete are still graduating at a much more accelerated rate. And it creates, I call it controlled chaos, Coach. And here's why I say that. For whatever reason, people either love athletics or hate athletics. And they say athletics get all the attention.
Right.
And they say that they get special treatment. And some of them say that some of them are not even smart enough to be on a college campus if it wasn't for their ability to play whatever sport they play. And then you have others, and I've seen it to the extreme on both ends, that they think they're God's gift to the system because they are in athletics, and they feel like they're the prima donnas walking on the campuses. And it's got to be a balance, because both of them enhance one another, because no one is going to pay $25 a ticket to go and watch somebody work out a math formula. I'm sorry, it's not going to happen, and you don't knock that. But it is what it is. And I think with that moving target of the APR, and it leads to the debate that my beloved big brother, Brother Brown, and I have when it comes to the money games. You're almost forced in that situation and I'm not just talking about HBCUs, FCS programs, wherever, where you're not a Power 5 contender. You are forced to go out and take some of these games because there's such a large difference between the haves and the have-nots.
Absolutely. But see, the thing that bothered me as a basketball coach, when you start talking about playing guarantee games, most FCS football programs are only going to play one, no more than two a year. Okay? But when you look on the basketball side, man, you got programs that are playing 14 and 15 games that are guarantees. And I just think that's way too much for any program. I think that I'm all for helping the university, but I think that every basketball program that plays the guarantee games should have money coming back to their program, not for the general fund, not for the athletic director's discretion. To me, if you got a moneymaker, you ought to be taking care of that moneymaker. I'm not saying there should be a formula that should be across the board, that percentage of money should go back to that program that's making the sacrifice. I didn't believe in playing all those games. I would go on the average 4 to 5 games a year for game guarantees. I think that in order for the HBCUs to survive, to get a good APR, they got to stop playing all those games. Their APR rates are not going up when they're losing them all. Yeah, we get a few wins every now and then when you play those games. But if you playing on those home court, the teams that have won in the last 5 or 6 years, they're playing people at neutral sites. You know, you can go to a tournament and play. You take Prairie View. Prairie View wasn't at Evansville. Prairie View beat Evansville on Louisville's court.
Yes,
they were on a neutral site.
Yes.
So see that. Now they're still making money. Prairie View is making money playing in this tournament for the university. But should Prairie View be playing 14, 15 games like that? No. Well, this year with the pandemic, you can't anyway.
Right.
You know, this 20 is an unusual year. But if this was a normal year, you would have some SWAC teams playing 12 and 14 games.
No doubt.
Then they start the season out, their SWAC season out, 0 and 12, 0 and 14. Now, their kids don't know how to win because all they've seen is different ways to lose basketball games. So their confidence is shot by the time they get to conference play. And unless you are a veteran team and a very deep team, you're not going to come back from that. Now, here recently, I think Texas Southern did it one year. Well, Mike played all those games. But see, every year, Mike won some non-conference games. Mm-hmm. But for the most part, he started out the SWAC season under 500 when he got to the SWAC schedule. But he dominated the conference. Everybody's not going to be able to do that every year.
Right.
To dominate the conference play just to have a winning season. And the reason why Mike will tell you this now, you know why he played all those games? Because it was built in that X amount of money came back to his program, which he reinvested into his basketball program. Absolutely. They've got some of the best. You look at their locker rooms, you look at their coaches' offices. They use the guarantee money to go back into the program. You look at how their athletes live, the basketball players. So the whatever money he needed, he was able to generate that because he played these games. That's not happening at some of these other schools.
No, sir.
Prairie View, Texas Southern are two of the schools that I know for a fact they get a percentage of the guarantee money. The two schools I just named, they're at the top of the league year in and year out.
Yes,
the
sir.
other schools, when I was at Alabama A&M, they got every dime that I made on a guarantee game, with the exception of the year that Dr. Jennings allowed me to keep money to redo our arena. And that was the inside, to take out the wooden bleachers that had been there since 1973.
Yes, sir. Yeah, and that's got to be a hard pill to swallow if you're a head coach. Student athletes are not as privy, or these days they are, but the business side of these games, they just want to go out and compete, and they'll take on the challenge of trying to play the big boy because it's an opportunity for them to shine. It's an opportunity for them to say, I told you so, that I could handle you. But there are so many moving parts that are not seen on the surface. And I'm on record for saying a couple of things, Coach. You know me pretty well right now. I just say how I feel, especially when I got facts to back them up. I think that these money guarantee games are the lazy way of fundraising for athletic directors. I believe that when you really look at the future of basketball on a collegiate level, what COVID has done is going to make everyone, and when I say everyone, I mean everyone, go back to the whiteboard, because you can't say chalkboard these days. They don't even know what you're talking about. But they're going to have to go back to the whiteboard, reassess how they've run their programs. There's going to be more regional play and select distant travel with these non-conference games. And you said something, we were talking, and it was very ingenious on how you get it. For the most part, in some regional areas, these teams don't want to play the HBCUs or the LCSs because of their quote-unquote reputation, and they don't want to ruin it or have it blown. But there's a unique way to get that rascal on that court anyway, ain't it, Coach?
Yes, it is. See, they have these multi-events every year in the preseason, and that's where you can play 3 or 4 games. And a lot of times the promoters are looking for the people, the organizers of these events are always looking for teams. So if there's a team in my area, let's say Sanford, which we haven't played. We played them today, and by the way, A&M beat Sanford today for the first time in years.
Go ahead go on, give me one of them hoorahs.
So yeah, I'm proud of them. Let's say Sanford would be ducking us. Well, what I would do is call one of the promoters and say, listen, I want to play in your tournament. If you can get Sanford in this tournament and pair us against each other, I'm in. Well, see, now I got Sanford. I'm not at their place. They don't want to come to my place. So now I got them on a neutral site. So there are ways to play some of these schools without you having to go to their place, and there are ways of doing it without them having a hand in it. You know, the organizer will put us together. They want to play in this because a lot of times those tournaments, you may play 4 games, but only 2 of them count against you, see. So that was the beauty of the multi-event tournaments that the scheduling coaches would look at. So, yeah, there are other ways of getting them on your schedule. And then I do agree with what you said earlier. I think once this COVID is over with, you're going to see more regional play. Teams are going to be forced to play in their region now to save money. And it should have always been that way. But I think more and more schools are looking at that way, even in the Power 5 conferences right now. You used to be able to get $100,000 to play one basketball game. I don't know of a school this year that's getting $100,000 because of the virus. Because, see, they have no way, that Power 5 school has no way of recouping their money because they can't put people in the seats.
Right.
You know, the advertising money that they're getting in is already spoken for.
Yes, sir.
So they're running a deficit because of the virus.
Well, because of the virus, and I know you also been having this vision of creating somewhat of an HBCU tournament. And because of the virus concerns, as we've made mention of, now would not be the time to try to put that game or that tournament together because of the lack of attendance that could come at such a time as where we are right now, correct?
Right. But that's been needed for a while. I can remember when I was in high school, there was a tournament that was played for the HBCUs in Georgia. It was normally in Atlanta. And that tournament every year would take the top HBCUs and play for a championship. That's what we got to go back to. The big boys do their preseason tournaments. I think we as HBCUs, we should be doing the same thing. I presented that a few years back, had some people to accept my idea and believe in it and agree to participate. Didn't have enough pull from the members of the MEAC. You know, their thing was, we're already playing the game guarantees. That's hurting us. We should not be knocking each other off. We would be giving each other losses in the preseason. And that was their reasoning for not wanting to participate.
Okay. Now, with that being said, Coach, I know the guarantees were probably not in the same neighborhood, but would they at least be in the zip code of a guarantee game against a Power 5, or would the pot be a lot smaller?
No. The money we would have been offered at the time that we were doing this, it was comparable to some of the others. You know, you take the Power 5s out, there were not a lot of, like the Sun Belt. Believe it or not, the Sun Belt was one of the conferences we ran from because they didn't pay. They were paying their guarantees were too small. You know, this was back. They offered you $30,000-$40,000 for a game. For what? Why would I come and play you for 30 when I can go over here and get 80? You know, because when you look at dollars and cents, some coaches, they have a dollar amount written in their contract, how much they have to bring in.
Right.
You know, it's in the contract, so they know they got to go out. So instead of me playing 2 games to get 100, let me play 1 game and get that 100. And as a coach and as a scheduler, that's why you got to be creative to reach your dollar amount. Whatever your school, whatever your university has obligated you to, you have to be smart in how you come up with that. Don't put your kids out there for 12 and 14 games.
But that's what happens, Coach, when you get these ADs. Once again, I'm on record for saying with the lazy fundraising approach, they'll say, well, I need you to raise me $500,700,000, you know, in 13 games. Well, that's going to put you behind the 8 ball, Coach.
It will. And that, I don't want to work for people like that. Because that to me, that does not help my team. How can you build a program, man, when your kids are constantly getting their brains beat out? Give those kids an opportunity to play against schools with a similar budget. Now our chances of winning go up.
Right.
Because in the Power 5, you know, we had a saying, you can get one or the other. You can get the check or you can get the win. You're not getting them both. and that's the way they did it.
Right. And that's why when you get this win, you sure enough earned it twice because you're going against officiating, you're going against whatever little small technical glitch they can use that won't be so obvious. And that's why these games are so sweet when you're able to pull them off like that.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. And I'm happy for our schools when we are able to beat these people, and then more and more of these coaches are getting smart. They're playing these people on neutral sites instead of their home arenas, and that's a good thing. That's a good thing because we have a good game. We got a good product. We just got to have more administrators see that you cannot, as Coach Job said, prostitute these kids to make money like that. Yeah, you got a development office. That's supposed to be your fundraising piece. You got an athletic director. That's your fundraising piece. We should not be using these kids to raise money unless they're benefiting from it. And how do they benefit? Put money back in this program. How many of the HBCUs have training tables? Okay, how many of the HBCUs have their own academic people? Right. You know, these are things that sustain a program. These are things that keep a program going. These are things that you actually need. So if we're going to go out and play these games, let's be playing them for a reason. Let's invest in the programs.
Well, it goes back, Coach, to what we're saying, controlled chaos, because you've been around the game. You've been on the college campuses. It's them over there talking about the marketing people or compliance people or the president's cabinet. They don't understand. And then they'll point back at the athletic department. Those guys already got X, Y, Z, and the more you give, the more they want. And it's a tug of war, an internal tug of war, and we're becoming stagnated, to be honest with you. And the more we struggle against each other, the deeper we dig a ditch for ourselves. And it creates the problem that we're now facing. But, Coach, you know what? I could talk to you all night, but I know you're not going to talk it, and Mama Pettaway ain't going to allow me to talk to you. But, you know, it is always a joy and a pleasure to sit down and talk with you. You know that you're loved here at the Open Mic, man. We appreciate you so much, and we're going to have to shut this thing down for tonight, man. You didn't carry me to the top of the hour, but I want to give you
Wow. Well, I just want to say this real quick.
Yeah.
Thank you for what you do. Thank you for the open mic. Thank you for the opportunity for our public to hear and understand, because you give great insight. And any time that I can help, I'm here for you. I'm a phone call away, Dr. Prince, because I really believe in what you're doing.
Well, sir, I thank you so much, and we appreciate your kind words. And you know that you're always welcome here. You don't even have to give a head start. You call right now in the middle of the show. Hey, we got to clear the line. We got the Godfather on the line right now. The Godfather of basketball, our basketball analyst for the Open Mic Broadcast Network, and he joined us on the Brazos Valley Schools Credit Union Hotline, Coach Vann Pettaway. Coach, we love you, man. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Give me a quick update. What's the prayer of your score right quick?
Well, it's 83-60 with 1:09 left in the game.
Okay, that's
Louisville came back in the second half.
Fight on, mighty PV, fight on. Coach,
yes, sir.
Enjoy the rest of your weekend, man. We love you, okay?
Okay, Dr. Prince. Take care.
All right.
God bless you.
That is going to bring us to the end of this week's edition of the Mike Prince Show Sunday Night Live. Want to thank our special guest on the Brazos Valley Schools Credit Union Hotline, none other than Coach Vann Pettaway. We want to thank our sponsors on tonight, of course, Brazos Valley Schools Credit Union, Attorney Lee Van Richardson, Temple of Refuge Ministries, the Prairie View Athletic Club. Also want to thank Helping Hands Lawn Service, Diva Skin Conditioner. You can locate them at divafeet.com, DIVAH feet.com, and the Purple Drip Daiquiri and Grill. Don't forget to join us on Monday morning, 10 a.m. Lord say the same, and the creek don't rise, right here at the Open Mic Broadcast Network. I am the radio guy, Dr. Mike Prince, and I must exit stage left. But until the next time, you guys be blessed, and we'll see you on the other side.